Hello and welcome to Kickoff, a sports show based on the FIFA World Cup 2022, brought to you by the Fanboys. I think I don't know if the listeners remember this or not, but in yesterday's show, I said we have a very special surprise for our listeners today and our viewers on DN Sport. Today, instead of Osama and Shahryar, we have the experts of football, Sir Aamer Naseer here with me on my right, and Mikaeel Naseer on my left. Mikaeel is Sir Aamer's son. Guys, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Super excited. Since yesterday, we've been talking about it. Finally, you guys are here.
Thank you. And I'm actually super excited because I just got knighted, by the way, because, sir. So that's quite exciting. But no, it's great to be back on Kickoff, which is a show which is very close to my heart because I did that for about 15 years. And I've been listening to you guys. You guys are doing a super job. It's a great way to catch up on what's happening in the world of World Cup football in Qatar with all the controversies and everything happening. And finally, when the football started, I mean, there's no way that if you had told me a week back that we're going to be in for these kind of results, Germany, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, incredible. It's just super.
I think for us as fanboys, again, we keep using the term fanboys because of course we aren't no experts, but as fanboys, we are really enjoying such games. An upset like Saudi Arabia beating Argentina or Japan beating Germany. Even last night, I don't know if you guys followed the match, but USA and England, that for me also was a really super duper interesting match, even though it was a tie, even though it was a 0-0.
I'll tell you what, and I was talking to Mikaeel and I said that USA is not a team that you can take lightly. They've been looking good for the last, 3 World Cups, Mikaeel?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'm just going to say it's great to be back on the show. And, I think there was a little bit of trepidation about, World Cup in Qatar. How's it going to be? But I think it's exceeded expectations. Like you said, a couple of really shocking results. But that's par for the course when it comes to the World Cup. You always have these shock upsets. I think the USA performed very, very well against a very tired, beleaguered-looking England side. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in that final stage.
Agreed. Have you guys seen the speech given by the coach of Saudi Arabia in halftime? I was watching it today.
Watching that.
Yeah, please tell us about that.
I mean, unbelievable. Halftime, 1-0 down. Guy comes in. I think it was more the translator actually than the coach. I mean,
Right.
The coach was great, but the translator, man, I mean, the way he was just going off on those players.
So the Saudis got it twice. They got a lecture in French. They got a lecture in Arabic also. And by the way, René he's not just a tough coach. He's a very tough coach because when he took Zambia, the African nations, and they were right at the bottom, he actually slapped one of the football players, and that's how. I mean, I'm not saying that's the way coaches have to be,
right,
but that's the kind of coach he is. He wants the best out of it. He says, "I never moved to Saudi Arabia because of business. I moved to Saudi Arabia because of football."
Well, look, if someone promises me a Rolls Royce as well, then I'll get my shoes back on. And
I'll get
no
slapped
matter what,
also.
I'll
get
take a couple of slaps too. No problem.
I think anybody would start playing their A game if they were given that.
No. Let's face it. It's very difficult. Look, you've got to give credit to the Saudis because it's very difficult to be one down against a team like Argentina, and then to come back. So all credit to the Saudis. Although the second goal was pure magic, and I was telling Mikaeel, my only problem is that when you've got people of the level of the Argentinians who played millions of dollars, he did a turn. He had enough time. Defenders of that level shouldn't have given him that space, Mikaeel.
I mean, look, it was a 36 game, I think, unbeaten streak that they ended.
Yeah.
Makes it even more impressive. I think the best, other than that, was Italy. They did about 37 games.
Yeah.
But beating that streak, doing it the way they did, Saudi Arabia, who have been demolished in previous World Cups, 8-0 by Germany, I think, in 2002, if I remember correctly. But phenomenal result, greatest result in their history, I think.
Again, as fans of football, I think all of us, we really enjoyed that game. I think, sir, we should go straight into the conversation about the matches. I think ek humne baat ki about the Saudi Arabia Argentina upset. I think the biggest upset after that came with the Wales game, Wales and Iran.
Oh, they'll definitely go down as an upset. But I expected the Welsh really not to pull out any fireworks. I mean, you've got Bales and Ramsey who unfortunately tired legs. Would that be?
The problem is that Wales is a very top-heavy squad, right? So if your two superstars aren't really performing, Bale and Ramsey, we know about Bale's issues the last couple of years, no game time, injuries. Ramsey, I don't know if he's adjusted very well at Juve after he left Arsenal, all of that stuff. But just didn't look very creative, didn't look in the game. And Iran, I mean, not to get too political here, with everything going on here, I can't imagine what this win must have meant to them as a nation.
Fair enough. Agreed. And what do you guys think about the red card? The goalkeeper. That was a fair red card?
I thought that was a fair red card. I see in situations like this is why I have a love-hate relationship with VAR. I feel like that was a very clear red card. And there were some interesting comments made by ex-German coach Jurgen Klinsmann. I don't know if you heard about those, but he came out and said some very dubious things about how, this is in their nature to protest this way and things like that were very much on the line and were unfair, I think, because that was very clearly a red card. I mean, he comes out, studs up, almost at the guy's head. It's a red card for sure.
Speaking of Germany, I'm going to put a bet, by the way, Mikaeel. I don't think they're going to get out of the
Could be that
group.
the Germans.
I don't think they're actually going to get out to 16.
Germany
With you.
could be France of 2002. They could be that team that just crashes out in the groups. I can see it happening.
And they didn't look very impressive to me.
No,
I'll tell you who really impressed me was the Canadians. I had absolutely no idea about half of the guys, but I thought the pace was relentless. I think they played with a lot of heart, and it was a great game.
they play like they have nothing to lose, right? All these big teams where you see 0-0 draws, and I mean England. Look at them. When you play, when you have no expectations, you have no pressure, it shows. It allows you to open up. And I think Canada was the most aggressive forward-playing team I've seen so far.
But England,
Other
of
than
course,
Spain.
England, of course, have got that perennial "is coming home." It's 1966, which they think Jeff first, probably more and everything, and they're going to be. Although having said that, it's not a bad side.
It's not a bad side, yeah.
It's a different side. It's a young side. I think the expectations that they used to have many years ago, where they had much more of a superstar side, right? The Gerrards, the Scholesies, the Lampards, the Rooneys, Terry, all of these players. I think the England media has realized that this team, they're not going to get it done. So let's stop putting that much pressure and hype behind them. Let's just let them do their own thing. But inevitably, the conversation always comes back to that. The Premier League is the biggest league in the world. Therefore, most of the eyes will be on England. Let's be real. They looked horrible.
They looked pretty bad.
There was no
Agreed.
intent.
And of all the people, the guy who's been a bit of a weakling in Manchester United was the guy who came out as the savior, Harry Maguire.
Yeah, I mean, Maguire looked good, but I don't think their issues are that much on the back line. Their issues are more going forward. All the passes I saw were all horizontal. I mean, there was no forward passing that was happening. You saw in Kane's post-match interview. I mean,
But England plays. That's how they play. They play the long ball. I mean, unlike the Germans or the Italians, England tend to, if you see how they
follow that game style
over the years.
Absolutely. Even though I'm a United fan, I really don't like Harry Maguire as a fan of football. I think let's get straight into the conversation we were having first about the Wales game. We were saying that was a really big upset. You guys were saying it was definitely a red card. I would like to ask you, what do you think is the role of VAR in this tournament? A lot of people are saying Ronaldo ko penalty nahi milni chahiye thi. It was a bad decision. I disagree. What do you guys say?
I think the role of VAR is to diminish the hopes of fans around the world because you can never truly celebrate a goal because then VAR comes back, it's like, oh, it wasn't a goal.
Yeah.
But that's just my personal gripe with it. The other role of VAR is when you think the game is over, guess what? There's another 12 minutes of extra time left.
The 12, it's not just 12 minutes. Some games have had as much as 21 minutes of extra time. And I think that's okay because when you've got divas like Ronaldo, who falling and pirouettes and everything. And they figured that for every goal, if you celebrate for a minute and a half, if there's 6 goals in our games, that's 13 minutes gone. So why should the side that's 2 goals down be penalized? So that's fair enough.
It sounds like you weren't a fan of Ronaldo's.
No. I'm a huge fan. He's a great player. There's no two ways about it. Ronaldo he's 37 years old, and one would have thought that he'd slowed down, but he's looking sharp. He's looking good. He's still jumping those same heights for his headers. Not taking anything away. He's going to soon be making a lot of money if he goes to Saudi Arabia and goes and plays.
This is going to be the most expensive
310 million pounds
free agent
for 2
ever
seasons
playing a World Cup.
Is obscene money, but not taking anything away. But I don't think it's a bad thing adding time because earlier on you'd only get 2-3 minutes and you're 2 goals down. Now you get about 12 minutes. You get a chance.
I will say this, and the listeners can comment on this. I think it's a really interesting topic, but the thing about football that I think most people, having lived in the US, right, a lot of American sports people don't like is there's a lot of stop and start, right?
Yeah.
The thing about football is you have two halves, 15-minute break. It's very free flowing.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my biggest issues with VAR is that it stops the game a lot.
It does.
Momentum changes.
It does.
It just changes the complexion of the game.
It does. There's a
So
guy who
that's my
stops the
gripe.
game. The referee does a sprint. He stands there for 5 minutes. He comes back. I agree with you there.
I'm all for a little bit of human error, but I think these constant stoppages and looking like how far back do you go, right? Do you go back one play, two plays? Do you go back from, when the goalie kicks the ball? Like where does it stop?
Capiche.
Because I have both of you, the experts, over here on our show, I would like to ask you guys, because we get into these discussions, these heated debates, कि कौन बेहतर है, Messi or Ronaldo? Or do you guys think there's another player like maybe Neymar or somebody who fits in that pool?
Who's right now?
Right now in this tournament, who would you put your money on?
Look, these guys are getting on with age, but it's a tough one. I'd have to rate Messi. He's got the ball tied to his shoelaces.
Right.
I mean, and it goes against him also, which is why he's a bit of a diva, and which is why in his club teams, most of the people actually don't like him because he forever wants the ball. And I don't disagree with him because he also knows, and the manager knows, that when the ball comes to Messi, something will happen. Some magic will happen.
Right.
But I don't know.
Look, I think it's hard to dispute the fact that there has not been another crop of players that have touched the two of them in the last 15 years, I would say.
Sure.
Now,
Yeah.
they're both on the back end of their career a little bit. I think Messi is more critical to Argentina's success.
Yeah.
Because I think Portugal has a better team. And Ronaldo plays that center forward type of role where if the delivery is good, then he'll do well. But I think Messi is more of an important cog for the team in terms of playmaking and scoring goals and taking set pieces and things like that. But I've always been more of a Ronaldo fan. I don't know why. I just can't explain it. I'm backing him. I think he's had more success in major tournaments, right? Portugal won the Euros.
Yeah.
Messi fallen short that final against Germany, 1-0, very boring final.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm backing Ronaldo, I think.
Yeah.
We have equal amount of supporters on this
Fair
table.
enough.
We have a Messi fan. We have a Ronaldo fan. I'm not going to say whose fan I am because I feel like the debate will end there. But what do you guys think about Neymar? You use the word diva. Because Neymar is associated with that word. However, his injury right now, I saw the picture. That seems very legit.
The ankle looked very swollen.
Yeah.
It looks pretty swollen, but he's a sportsman. I think he's a strong lad. Neymar's Brazilian. You've got to understand the football players, the Europeans, the Africans, and then the Brazilians. It's like samba. They just get into the groove, which is why the entire world waits for their campaign to start. And you saw what happened. I mean, that bicycle kick.
The front four looks phenomenal. They have the perfect. There was a lot of debate around, Richarlison, Gabriel Jesus. The manager's confidence in him paid off. I mean, that second goal, controlling the ball, and the second touch, a bicycle kick. I've never seen anything like that before. Normally, it's a straight cross in, bicycle kick. To control it, set it up. He assisted himself, essentially. But Vinicius, Neymar, Rafinha, Richarlison, I mean, phenomenal front
They've got
four.
super speed, and it's pure magic watching them play because it's like they're dancing. So, and Brazil's done that over the years. Although Brazil, by the way, going back in time, are known for a team, the best team in the world that never won the World Cup. I think it was '82.
I mean, I wasn't born then, so I would have absolutely no
Okay.
idea. But it must have been '82
Age
since
does
you were
not have
born
to
in
come
'42.
right,
Age
that's
is just a
right.
number.
Yeah, it's just a
Just
number.
a number.
I wasn't born in '42, by the way. But coming
We
back
let
to
the
that,
listeners decide.
I think it was '82. I think it was the team of Socrates and Zico, and it was actually called the greatest team never to have won the World Cup.
Wow.
Yeah.
For me, right now, as a fanboy, my vote's with Brazil, my support's with Brazil. You were saying people are either behind England or they hate England.
Yeah, pretty much. I think because most of us are Premier League fans, and everyone's sick of all the expectations people put on England. So they're the team that's easy to hate on. I feel bad for them at this point. Let them win, man. Let them win. They haven't won anything ever before. I mean, let them win, man.
Well, '66, they barely did it. And Jeff Hurst, by the way, years later came out and said, "I can't live with the guilt." It wasn't a goal, the line goal.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they can't take it back, so it's irrelevant. Doesn't matter.
But that was the only time that they. But I think this team is probably going to go far.
Well, look, it's. I still don't understand whether it's inexperience or managerial inexperience or not bringing on Phil Foden. I don't.
I couldn't understand
it's
that
beyond
actually,
me.
because the guy is just super talented. Why didn't Southgate bring him on?
I mean, he has something for Mason Mount. That front three. Obviously, Kane's there for the experience, but Foden can start for City, arguably, now the second best team in the world behind Arsenal. Let's make that clear. Not that I'm an Arsenal fan.
So one of my friends said that the only reason I want England to crash out early is so that Saka can be fresh and come back.
I don't disagree with that. Again, not that I'm an Arsenal fan, but that wouldn't be the worst outcome.
But I think it's the best time that they could probably win the league. This is a team that could probably take the league. But we're not talking about that. Yeah. It's the World Cup.
Absolutely. No, I think Foden should play, especially based on their last performance. I don't know whether there's some disagreement. Maybe there's an injury that hasn't been reported, but he should definitely be on that pitch. His creativity, I mean, that kid is special.
He's special.
I agree. And talking about good players, I think we have established, of course, this is a tournament to look out for Messi, Ronaldo, maybe Neymar if he's fit. But apart from that, what about new, young talent, emerging players? I know we spoke about Gapco in the break, Netherlands.
I like Gapco. I think he's super. I mean, I don't know much of the young names. I mean, I'm still with the familiar ones.
Right.
But I don't know, Mikaeel.
Keeping with the Netherlands, I mean, Gapco, you mentioned, looked good. Yes, they scored a goal, but looked good in the first half. I mean, Netherlands, similarly to England, slowed down a lot. Ecuador out-hustled them, outran them. Their physicality was too much for them to handle, and they were unlucky not to get a second goal, in fact. But, a couple of players in that back line. They've got Nathan Ake as well. Enner Valencia.
Of course.
Yeah.
Captain,
I mean, coming back to Ecuador, I mean, it's a team that I don't think there was a ton of expectations on before, but I would actually say that they're the favorites to win the group, in my opinion. That front three of Estrada, Valencia, Plata, I mean, dynamic, fast-paced, always running, always pressing. I think they're a very formidable team, and I think we should watch out for Ecuador.
Wasn't Valencia off on a stretcher? Yes, was that Valencia who went off?
No,
it wasn't.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it was Valencia.
Speaking of Valencia, he's really leading the team from the front,
being
the captain. He's scoring the goals. I think he is a good example for other captains, especially Ronaldo, Messi, to learn from. What do you say?
I agree. Valencia is a bit of a character. Now, I'm a little confused whether it's the same guy who got into a bit of controversy with the law. Now, I think I could be wrong, but maybe the listeners could correct me if it's the same guy. I mean, he's super talented, but I think he got into some controversy a couple of years back.
No, but certainly leading from example. I mean, getting that goal in. But Ronaldo's doing it a little bit as well, right? Even though it was a penalty, for him, that goal, I mean, must have meant everything, right? I mean, after the summer that he's had, rather not the summer, but the last month or so that he's had with United being released, a free agent coming back and scoring their opening goal.
Sure.
I mean, you could see what it meant to him.
Sure.
You could see what it meant to him on his face. But that was a tight game as well. Because they're 3-1 up, and then all of a sudden they take off João Felix, Bernardo, and Ronaldo. The three best players on the pitch. Because they thought they were cruising.
But that was towards what? When did they
I think
take
25 minutes before, 70th, 65th minute.
Probably 5. Okay, sorry.
But Ghana fought back. I mean, Ghana's always been a tough team.
Yeah, Ghana's always been a tough team. They're tough guys.
From the times of Essien and, Asamoah Gyan and players like that back in their prime years. I mean, they've always given every team a run for their money. Those legendary games against Uruguay, Suarez with the handball on the goal line. I mean, great memories where it comes to Ghana.
But funny you mentioned Ghana and big guys and everything. I thought the funniest was when I was watching Japan play Germany. I mean, you had Japan, these guys the tallest guy was about 5'4", and they were small guys. And in football, if you've played, of course, you know that you can shoulder.
Right.
We apologize to our Japanese fans and fans. We don't presume to know the average height of your
Okay, I said people. The tallest guy in the team, mate. I said the tallest guy in the team.
For that one Japanese fan out there that's watching this, I apologize.
On your side. In the team, my friend.
That's why the Sir title has been removed and will never be used again.
So it was funny watching these guys just taking the Germans on.
Yeah.
I mean, the Germans were bigger guys and everything, and I was watching the game and they edged them out, but Japanese
I mean, look at Messi. Yes, football to an extent is about physicality, but it's also about finesse. And with Japan, I mean, most of the players play for the J League. They play in Japan, so the exposure they have isn't that great. But
you've got one
again,
two,
like we said, it's a bang average German squad. You still have Muller up there who looks completely lost, devoid of any creativity and confidence.
And maybe their robotic, almost like computer type football is maybe just not working.
Similar thing I feel like functions for the Brazil and Serbia game. Again, Serbia, I feel like they were giving a lot of power, some massive shoulders. I think we were discussing the Brazil-Serbia game. We were talking about how they use their strength against the Brazilian players. Of course, the goals by Richarlison, especially the second one, was amazing. I feel like they couldn't do anything about it. But what do you guys feel like about the strength part that they were using, the Serbians?
I thought the Serbs. Well, the Serbs, you've got to understand teams like the Serbs, uh, earlier on Czechoslovakia and all. They're very tough to play simply because you don't see 99% of those players anywhere. You don't see them in the leagues. You don't see them anywhere. So you don't have an idea what these guys are going to be like. So normally when you would see the World Cups in the last 15, 20 years, Romania, Poland and all, it would be very difficult to score against them. And it would be very difficult to mark the guys because you never saw those players, especially like Poland and all in the 70s. They weren't allowed to go out and play.
Right.
There was a ban on them. So these teams are always very tough. They're never walkovers. But Brazil is a bit like the Pakistan team, by the way.
Why do you say that?
Because Brazil can be absolutely sublime.
Right.
And depends which Brazilian teams turned up that day also. So that's my fear with Brazil always. I love watching them play. I've always been a Brazil fan since I was a kid. But they're like the Pakistan team.
I think that's a very interesting point because I feel like that's why so many Pakistanis, majority of the Pakistanis, sort of associate themselves with Brazil.
Well,
in tournaments.
Also because if you go to Liari, and I used to go there a lot, and I played a lot of football against them. It's a little Brazil. If you go there, it's like a little Rio de Janeiro. It's incredible.
And they're the best talent we have over here. Makrani players,
Yeah,
and
they're
Liari players.
incredible. They're
Again,
super.
also having played with them and against them, but that's interesting comparison. Pakistan, Brazil. That might be the first time we've heard this comparison, but it's an interesting one. I'll say that. But you think of Brazil, you think of flair. You think of you think of Serbia, you think of the opposite of flair. It's just two completely different ideologies. They rely on physicality because, frankly, that's all they really have. They have one guy, Mitrovic, I think, up front, who can bang in the goals. But other than that, you'd be hard-pressed to be able to name where any of the other players consistently play.
Right.
But Brazil's a nice mix this year. They've got youth up front, but they also have experience with Thiago Silva in the back, Dani Alves on the bench. So it's a nice mix for this Brazilian team.
Who do you think will come in instead of Neymar? Who would be the ideal pick for their manager? Jesus?
That's a good question. Maybe Jesus. The problem is that Jesus and Richarlison are very similar players. Richarlison is a little more physical, a little better as an aerial threat. Jesus is more of a playmaker, right? You're seeing with Arsenal as well. He's not scoring the goals, but he's still invaluable. He's setting up the goals, or he's the pass right before the assist.
Right, agreed.
So it'll be interesting to see where he slots in. Maybe they'll switch up their formation. Maybe they'll go back to like a 4-4-2 or something like that. I know there's a few teams that are trying that, but Netherlands, for example, are playing a slightly more of a traditional 4-4-2-esque type of thing, which you don't see anymore.
Let's quickly give them a rundown of the upcoming games. Firstly, Tunisia and Australia right now, I think they're going into their last stoppage time, and Australia is leading 1-0. Then we have at 6 p.m. Poland versus Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was obviously on like a massive high right now. France, Denmark at 9 p.m. And then midnight is Argentina, Mexico. I know that the other games, obviously, we can discuss in tomorrow's show. But one game to look out for is Monday, 12 a.m. Spain, Germany. How are we feeling about these upcoming matches?
Spain, Germany. I'm going to actually make a pretty bold call right here. And if I'm wrong, I'm probably not going to come back on kickoff. But I think this is where Germany goes back home. I think looking at their last performance, I'd be really shocked if they beat Spain.
This is it for them, you're saying, the Spain game?
I think.
End of the road. I agree as well. The Spain team, not your typical Spain team, a crop of young players, very young players, but they've got that energy, they've got that drive that the Germans just seem to be lacking. So I agree. I think this is the end of the road for Germany. If not, it'll be a dull 0-0 draw. Those are the two outcomes. Either a dull 0-0 draw, or as in the Germans are just going to play extremely defensively, extremely negatively, just to get the result, and then hope for a last day
because you do
victory.
know the Spanish play, which is they call beautiful football. So and they keep passing till
Well, until they came up against the Dutch, that was satisfying to watch. I think 2 World Cups ago. Maybe that was 2014.
Yeah.
But
do you guys think we're gonna see the same tiki taka what they're famous for?
Well, that's how that's their philosophy. That's how they play their football, and you saw it in the last game. It was some great passing. This German side really, I mean, it was like the last World Cup. They were really, really lack of ideas, no creativity. I'll be shocked. Like I said, I'll be shocked if they get through.
And how are you feeling about the Poland-Saudi Arabia game?
Actually, I never thought I'd be so excited to watch Poland and Saudi Arabia play a game of football, but just based off of the initial result and the fact that Poland underperformed a little bit as well with the 0-0 draw, because you've got the best striker in the world, I believe, Lewandowski.
Right.
I mean, the amount of goals he scored for Bayern and then seamlessly going to Barca, I think he's got 13 goals in 14 games, something incredible like that. But he'll be disappointed with that first game result. All to play for. I was saying earlier before the ad break that I think Saudi would be very content to hold on to a draw. Aamer was saying that, hey, given the way their coach is, he's so aggressive. I love that. He'll be pushing them to win every single game. I do think they will be content with the draw, though. 4 points out of 2 games for Saudi Arabia. I don't think anyone could have imagined that.
Hervé Renard, I don't think will be happy with just a draw. I think he will go for a win. Huh? It's not possible for him.
I'm a big fan of that guy. I'm a big fan of the way he's taking his team.
He's quite a character. But I think the defender is injured, the Saudi defender. I think I keep forgetting his name, but I think he's injured.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't think I would be waiting for Saudi Arabia to be playing. But I'm actually quite excited just to see. They must be really, really pumped up. So it's going to be a fun game.
As fans of the game, even I'm super duper excited for this. France versus Denmark.
I'll have to go for the French. I think the French have got too much depth, even though Didier Deschamps doesn't have his main stars like Kante's not playing. Karim Benzema, Ballon d'Or, he's not playing. But I think the French still have... for me, if you ask me, the two teams that are the favorites to win the World Cup, the French and the Brazilians. And I think they'll be a bit too strong for the Danes.
Thank God you had Brazil there. I had a mini heart attack right now.
No, I think France, I agree. I think France are looking great. The injuries are a little bit concerning. I think not having Kante there, I mean, he's the life and blood, the little engine who could.
Yep.
And then obviously Benzi. But hey, look, Giroud came in, scored 2 goals. Again, for those Arsenal fans out there, it might be bittersweet because they did like him once upon a time. now we don't. But no, Giroud coming in with 2 goals, of course. Ousmane Dembele has been performing really, really well as well. It's interesting to see Varane on the bench, but I guess once you start playing for United, the bench is probably the best role for you. Don't mean to throw any shade on United fans.
United fans sitting right here, but yeah, sure.
I had no idea.
But it's funny, what has happened to Denmark in the last 2 World Cup, because Denmark, again, like the Poles, as I was saying, from the 80s, if you look at the 90s and all, Denmark had a super team. They've made it
Schmeichel era.
Schmeichel era and the Laudrup brothers. Brian and
But guess
Michael,
what? Denmark have beaten France the last 2 times, or maybe it's 3.
In 2022.
Yeah, the last 3 times they played, they beat them. And you've got a Christian Eriksen with a new cybernetic heart. He's got a second lease on life, which is fantastic to see. But I think that'll be a very interesting game, the Denmark-France game. It's not a given. I don't think it's a given by any means that France is going to cruise with that one.
2-1 written on it.
2-1
Paul versus Saudi has got 1-1 written on it.
I'd
actually give it to the Saudis.
Yeah.
I'd actually give it to the Saudis.
I think if Lewandowski turns up, it's their game. But we'll see.
If the Saudis beat them, then I feel like a Rolls Royce mili thi abhi players ko. Then I have no idea what they're going to be getting.
Everybody gets 1 tower each.
I'm sure. I think the most important game, also another game, all the pressure, all the eyes on Messi. Messi's game, Argentina versus Mexico. What about that game?
Well, I would have given. I was discussing with Mikaeel in the car. I would have given the Mexicans a little more, but this Mexico team it's just not the same.
I think this is a solid Mexico team, actually. They've got Edson Alvarez, who's a great box-to-box midfielder, very tenacious, legs for days, runs all day. Raúl Jiménez, also another great player, and I think they also have Lozano. So they've got some, and of course Ochoa, the superstar at the back.
Absolutely.
Incredible penalty save against Lewandowski in the last match. He's been the hero for them on so many different occasions. So I don't think they're actually a bad team. In fact, Argentina, the cracks are beginning to show, because you've obviously got talented elite players like Martinez and Messi, but then on the other side of things, you've got older sort of players like Otamendi, Rodrigo, Paredes, players like that who are sort of not there.
And Angel just didn't look.
Didn't
No.
look. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And-
But again, he hasn't been the same since he went to United, so there is a bit of a trend popping up there.
And
Not to
for
harp
me-
on this
and
too
for
much.
me, the problem is that if you have a Mexican side that doesn't have at least half a dozen Hernandez in it, it's no good. Like Kim, if you don't have a South Korean team that doesn't have at least 9 Kims, it's not
Again,
happening.
we apologize to our South Korean fans, listeners as well that are listening.
No, and I think
this-
with that, I think we'll move towards closing the show. Hopefully, catch our listeners and our viewers on DN Sport on our next show tomorrow. This is Kickoff. I'm Ibad Ali Shah. I would like to thank both Aamer Naseer and Mikaeel Naseer for joining us
Pleasure.
today.
Pleasure.
And thank you so much. Signing out. Catch you guys on our show tomorrow.